Joining us tonight, a veteran of the campaign trail and the White House, MSNBC political analyst Nicolle Wallace, and radio talk show host Hugh Hewitt of the show that bears his same name, also an MSNBC political analyst. Welcome to you both. Nicolle, David Gergen tonight was on CNN talking about how troubled people are, how good people reported being unable to sleep last night, how upsetting this all is. While subject to parody, yes, this is a really serious moment right now.
It is, and you know, there was a moment a week ago when the lines crossed, where comedy and reality crossed, and now we're on the underbelly, right? Where comedy is where we get our sort of laughs and our only lightness in our politics, and the politics have become so truly dark. I think that you have to keep in mind that this is where Donald Trump began. Not 15 months ago, but when he commenced his birther movement. That was sort of the birth of his political life. And so he started with sort of the darkest, falsest, nastiest kind of campaign ever. And the real atrocity is that as many members of the Republican Party, as many revered members of the GOP got behind him as did. I mean, he's not anyone who ever evolved or ever signaled that he planned to evolve. He's someone who started out as a champion of the Barack Obama birther movement. His primary campaign, his opening speech talked about Mexicans as rapists and murderers, and then he went on to disparage John McCain, who I was heartened to see withdraw his support over the weekend. Where do we go now? I said last night that what you're watching is the bottom fallout of the GOP. And that's very much, I think, what it looks like when Speaker Ryan says he will no longer defend Donald Trump. But I think the pressure, not just from their voters, not just the political pressure, but the human pressure, the pressure from the women in their lives, from their sons, from their daughters, to not stand by a man clearly void of character.
Hugh Hewitt, I heard some serious-minded people today say that this is nothing short of a change in the definition of the Republican Party. Whatever this is, you're going to see people running under its banner at the state and local level if this doesn't succeed at the presidential level. What do you think is happening, A, to your country, B, to your party?
Well, I think last night was unfortunate. Richard Engel, in that exchange he had with you from Turkey, talked about the image we are projecting abroad, and I called up Richard to try and get him on tomorrow because I think it's very important that people understand there is a downside to our intramural mud wrestling. On the other hand, as a Republican, I think that's overstated. I think today was actually a very good day for the Republican Party. I've been married to the fetching Mrs. Hewitt for 34 years, and whenever we cannot agree on something, we say, well, perhaps you're right. And then that's the signal to stop fighting and just go our separate ways. We're not going to resolve it. Paul Ryan and Donald Trump have said, perhaps you're right. And the campaigns have diverged. And I think that's very good for House Republicans and for Kelly Ayotte and for Richard Burr, and Rob Portman doesn't need any help. Marco Rubio doesn't need any help. I don't think John McCain's in trouble. But, you know, there are some people who could need some shoring up, like Joe Heck in Nevada. And I think now the congressional campaigns are going to focus on Obamacare, which is, the Secretary of State conceded last night, falling apart. Premiums, as her husband said, have doubled and coverages have been halved, and you didn't get to keep your doctor or your plan or even your second doctor, your second plan. That's where they'll go. Mr. Trump will go where he is comfortable. And if no other shoes fall and if no other ice breaks, he may be able to close the gap and maybe even get close, though the numbers today are pretty astonishing. The Wall Street Journal NBC poll at 11 points. And, of course, that tape's not going to stop playing because it doesn't have a, sell-by date. It doesn't have an expiration date. It's just wonderful catnip to Trump's enemies. But
well,
they can go their separate ways.
It's more than catnip, though, Hugh. I mean, it's more than catnip. I mean, I think the reason that voters consume unscripted, unedited moments is because before Trump, they were pretty rare in American politics. And you're painting a mirage I'm going to crawl on my hands and knees toward in the desert of a fight about the policy differences in Obamacare. I'm on my way. But he has doubled down. He is Bob Rumson, telling people what to be afraid of and who's to blame. And what I find stunning is that there's any sort of optimism that anyone in the country, any Republicans, are going to spend the final, 27 days fighting about policy tweaks to Obamacare. That is a fairy tale.
Here's what I want to listen to.
I have to answer that.
Go ahead, Hugh, and then I'm going to play something.
Yeah, I sat down with the Speaker and the leader 2 weeks ago, talked with Greg Walden, the chairman of the National Republican Congressional Committee. That's exactly what they're going to do in the districts that we don't cover, where the campaign is fought with Mike Gallagher, young candidate up in Wisconsin. He's not talking about Donald Trump every day. He's talking about people's premiums. So we don't see it. We don't cover it. But that's where they're going. You and I are going to keep talking, and Brian are going to keep talking about Donald Trump. But what's going to happen at the very local level where the money flows in are these sorts of where are people in their lives right now, not these giant collisions way above them in the sky.
The we don't see it, we don't cover it theory also allowed for the Tea Party movement to take Washington by storm. No one saw it coming. No one had a clue. I want to play for you both a moment from last night that speaks to the ball game that makes everything else sound like AAA baseball. This is Steve Schmidt after midnight on our air summing up the state of this campaign.
The party's just in unprecedentedly bad shape. The Republican Party, its presidential campaign imploded. I mean, what Mike Murphy said was Donald Trump was politically dead coming into this debate. And once you're dead, you're dead. You don't come back to life. And so he's dead. Donald Trump will not be elected president of the United States on November 8th. Hillary Clinton will be the 45th president for sure.
Well, that'll get your attention, Nicolle Wallace. and a reporter with the New York Times tonight said this hasn't hit bottom yet. The petrifying thing for elected Republicans is that there are 6 or 7 or 8 shoes yet to drop.
Right, and Kellyanne Conway wasn't able to say that there were not. And I think when she had her own unscripted moment, she said, I'll be here till the bitter end unless. This was what was on the table during their conversations this weekend in Trump Tower. It wasn't just this one tape from Access Hollywood. It was Trump's acknowledgement to his closest advisors that there could be lots and lots of what they called Trump tape. So it's a known. It's not a known unknown. It is a known that there's a lot more tape out there. And again, this comes down to the I agree with Steve's assessment. Hillary Clinton is most likely the next president. And it comes down to a question. You know he's going to lose. Hugh Hewitt was against him and then for him. And then this was the last sort of straw for you, Hugh. When will the last straw be evident to the other people still standing by him?
Hugh?
Well, I don't know how many elected officials are going to be standing by him, actually. I spent a lot of time trying to talk on it when I was working to get him elected 2 weeks ago with John Voight and David Clark and going across the country and investing time. I talked to a lot of local elected officials who were eager to be with him because he was closing and had momentum. What the difference about the tape is it's an admission against interest, as we say in the law. It's a confirmation of the worst understanding of what people have alleged, as opposed to every other situation where people could use the ambiguity, use the language, perhaps give him the benefit of the doubt again and again and again, with the exception of the POW comment about which there was no doubt ever. And John McCain gave him a pass on that, so he got out of jail free. Mr. Trump, even if he plays a perfect game all the way through, is, as Steve Schmidt said, not going to win. He's not going to win because he can solidify his base, but he can't expand it as a result of these elections. But I don't see any other people jumping on who will go down with him. There is the Nicolles and the Steves, who are the professionals in this, believe that if he loses 11, 12, 13 points, he'll drag down some of the senators. I actually believe that one of the things they're not taking into account is the acceleration of information flow into people's lives by alternative means, and that while ticket splitting reached its all-time low in 2012, it could actually rebound almost dramatically, 2, 3, 4 times as high because of Hillary Clinton's negatives, which we haven't talked about. The one thing Trump delivered for the party last night was the prosecution of the 33,000 emails, the Obamacare issue, and the double standard about the FBI. Rudy elaborating on that with an interview with Chris Matthews on how Martha Stewart had gone to jail for far less than Secretary Clinton has evaded even a long day at the office for.
That was right before.
I just think it's complicated.
That was right before Chris Matthews was forced to answer the question from Rachel, has Rudy changed or perhaps lost his mind?
That was moment.
Nicolle, please hold on, and Hugh, please hold on. You mentioned John McCain. John McCain, in addition to having survived the North Vietnamese, has survived a couple of challengers over the years. He is running 16 points ahead right now. His debate was tonight. Here is from the debate, John McCain on Donald Trump.
It's not pleasant for me to renounce the nominee of my party. He won the nomination fair and square. But I have daughters. I have friends. I have so many wonderful people on my staff. They cannot be degraded and demeaned in that fashion. And so that I had to withdraw my support, just as I cannot support Hillary Clinton. People of Arizona know me and my service to them and my character and my integrity. I just worry, frankly, and this probably has nothing to do with this debate, but I worry about the future of the Republican Party. We're going to have a lot of work to do after this election is over.
Who are you going to vote for?
I think I might write in Lindsey Graham. He's an old good friend of mine, and a lot of people like him. The fact is, I can't, seriously, I cannot vote for either one.
So, Nicolle?
Yeah, listen, not voting for either one is the largest growing voting bloc in America, certainly in the Republican Party right now. And for a long time, senators like Jeff Flake and Mike Lee and former Governor Jeb Bush were on an island. Now they do represent the largest growing voting bloc in the GOP.
Tell that to President Lindsey Graham. Hugh Hewitt, Nicolle Wallace, thank you both. Thank you both, as always.